Hello again, art friends. A couple of months ago, I finally pulled out my 2024 collage sketchbooks and realized I had 4 pages to finish. So I grabbed my tubs of cut up paintings and decided that I'm going to go ahead and get these 4 pages finished and stick around till the end because I page through the whole book once I get these completed. So for this first page, I generally start by pulling out a bunch of the cut up paintings that I have. I pre-select some stuff. I find it's easier to kind of pull some stuff out and work with those or try to work with those. And a lot of times I'll look for a couple of pieces that are from the same painting just so that there's some consistency and continuity in the little collage. And then just complementary pieces, either things that have similar colors or potentially even complementary colors. Sometimes they have a lot of colors in, and then it's a question of also being able to find something that maybe has more subtle color to balance out the chaos of sometimes of some of the really patterned pieces. So here's the first one that I just finished up and cut pieces and put them in. And you'll see I keep all of these, I call them a grid, but they're not really a grid. I mean, they're organized and they're contained in square sections, but I don't really have a grid that I follow, like set sizes of grids. But this one I just used up some of the pieces I had that were kind of in the pinks and purples and blues. And then I'm going to do page 2. And with this one, I had these really cool metallic watercolor paints that I used on some black watercolor paper. And that's that sort of gold and sort of green pieces there that I have on the left. And I don't know if anybody's ever tried metallic watercolor. Let me know in the comments below if anybody uses them. They work really great on black watercolor paper. But I had some pieces of those and I really wanted to use those up, but they're really busy. So I needed to get some more solid colors and find something that might bring a little bit of color into this piece. You'll see I have that really thin, narrow piece that has just a little touch of kind of pink on it. But most of the colors are really fairly neutral and muted. And I decided to increase the contrast a little bit. I actually flipped those painted pieces over because they're on black watercolor paper and decided just to use the actual watercolor paper itself as one of the elements, just to give it a little bit more contrast, make that design a little bit stronger with some pops of like really, really dark black. I also want to make sure that I'm varying the sizes of my pieces. So here you'll see that I'm doing a couple of smaller ones. Most of the other ones are fairly larger sized, but I do like to try to do some smaller pieces just to, again, for variety. And then here it's glued down and just about finished. Now, for this, I use glazing medium or matte medium just to glue these all down. If the paper's a little bit thicker, sometimes I need to get out my gel medium just to make sure that everything stays in place. And then I take a piece of palette paper, you could use wax paper, and just roller it down just to make sure the edges stick. Now, the issue I was having here is because the book's already so full that trying to roller it down isn't really on a flat surface. It's on, 20 other pages of, stuff that's already been glued down. So sometimes it doesn't work quite as well. And then I decided to add a little bit of that metallic watercolor painted design to that black area and a little bit of the black area to the watercolor painted papers. Just again, to sort of move that color around. For this one, I went bright colors. I had just done the muted ones, and so now I wanted to play a little bit with some colors. So these pieces all are fairly vibrant. that piece of red paper there is not actually an old watercolor painting. I think that was like a scrap piece of some sort of collage paper that I had in a pack somewhere. But because these pieces have a lot of color to them and, pattern, I needed something to sort of soften out all of that chaos. So that nice bright red piece, or it's actually not even that bright, the nice red piece there, I think really worked well with this. And then I had some other solid papers that I had from previous projects that I pulled into this one, again, just because there's so much color and stuff going on. I didn't really like the orangey red one though, so I pulled that back out, and now I'm just trying to get some smaller pieces in the bottom there to balance out the larger pieces that I have. And you'll see here I go with an even smaller piece, just really, really tiny to fit in there. But it balances it out, and it gives it, more interest when you don't have pieces that are all the same size. I decided that I really needed to be that same red color, so I had to cut an end piece off there just to get that small piece there. And so now I'm looking for something to fill in that spot. And there's so many choices. I have so many paintings and these I just randomly, old paintings that I don't like, I just randomly cut up on my paper cutter that I have into, squares and rectangles, and just throw them in those plastic containers by color. I color sort them the best I can. And then so when I want to do a page, then I've basically got a ready supply. And, I can trim them down as needed, but they're generally a good starting point. All right, so I'm finally happy with that layout. Shuffled things around just a little bit, and now I just need to glue them all down. And there's the finished little collage on that page. And again, I'm just going to roller them down to make sure that they get a good seal. And now we're on to the final page for this little journal. And again, I just pulled some papers that I had, or some pieces that I already had, sort of pre-sorted based on color. I also try to get a variety of sizes, but they can always be cut down, so I'm not too concerned about that. And this one also had a bunch of different patterns, so I wanted to try to make sure that I didn't get stuff that was too busy on all of the pieces. And you'll see that piece there does actually go with the piece on the bottom. That was all part of the same painting or experiment or whatever you want to call it. I used one of these pieces, I think I tried to use one in the page before. And I liked this pink piece because it sort of pulls in that little pink section in the bottom piece there that just sort of is hiding in there, but it kind of makes it pop when I added those pink pieces, or the pieces that have more of a pink red cast there. And now I'm trying to find something for the top here. I did kind of like the yellow because there is yellow in those other pieces, but the yellow piece I had was just too bright. So, so this one also had yellow. It's a little brighter, but it's not quite that lemon yellow that was there. And then sometimes I flip pieces around. Sometimes I shuffle them a little bit. So I was happy with that. So now it's time to just glue it all down. These little 6-inch watercolor books are great for these little projects. I can, go through and do, 2 or 3 pages fairly quickly. And One, it uses up a lot of my old painting scraps that I normally would throw out. But it also gives me some new ideas for sometimes color combinations or textures and those sorts of things. So now here's the final book. You see this is number 2. So I had done 2 books in 2024. So just enjoy my page through this. If you like my channel and these kind of projects, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.